Are you ready for some acrobatic platforming with some time travel and some combat mixed in for good measure? Well, it's Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, this time, no pun intended, on Power Up! Let's see. Oh, hello there. Welcome to the show. In this episode, I'm going to take a look at a little bit older game, but not as old as the Atari or the Super Nintendo. Today's game is Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time for the GameCube. Actually, it also came out for the Xbox and the PlayStation 2. And actually, the version I will be reviewing is not this version, but just recently, Sony or Ubisoft came out with an HD version, which has let me see, The Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and The Two Thrones all in HD and revamped graphics and everything, but not too much revamped, just more sharper graphics. Very good game. I am happy, and I thought I'd review another great platformer. Well, let's get started. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time was released in 2003 with the GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. Later, it was released in 2011 as part of the Prince of Persia trilogy for the PlayStation 3. Story-wise, the prince's father invades the kingdom somewhere in India, I think, where the prince acquires the Dagger of Time, and then is tricked into using it, thereby releasing the Sands of Time, which was held in the hourglass. Of course, the prince and the king's army also gets the hourglass as well, which holds the Sands of Time. Gameplay-wise, it is excellent. This game is first and foremost a platformer, and it does it well. And unlike a Mario platformer, for instance, the prince can do acrobatic leaps and jumps, and heck, he's so athletic, he can run on walls. I wish I could do that. That is insane. And anyway, another cool gameplay feature, because it's called the Sands of Time, is when you get the Dagger of Time, you get the ability to turn back time itself. So if you die or outright mess up, which happens to me quite a bit sometimes, you can turn back time and correct the mishap you made. Also, you can use this ability, assuming you have enough sand tanks with the Sands of Time code in them. There are other techniques you can do with the dagger. And another example of that said technique is known as the Power of Haste, which does not use sand tanks, which control your time rewinding, but uses power tanks, which you acquire by defeating enemies, which, by the way, also fill up your sand tanks. So even if you use them up, even after the enemies kill you or something like that, as long as you're still alive, just basically you knock an enemy down and you stab them with the Dagger of Time to collect the sand they had within, which is pretty cool. And finally, speaking of combat is not too complicated in this game. You can just use your sword just to slash your enemies, I guess, but you can vault over enemies and hit them in mid-vault, even vault off walls to destroy enemies. But that's pretty much it for combat. Well, of course, anything beyond that, I should ask, is using another sand power of the dagger, which you can stab them and they freeze. You can freeze them and then finish them with your sword. Well, I don't know. I kind of wish the combat could have been better, but that's all. I think it's all right because I love the platforming elements. This platforming is great. Also helping you along the way is a non-playable character, Fira, who was the princess of a Maharaja that you conquered earlier in a cutscene in the game. But she is no slouch. She actually is a decent AI character. As long as you help her out, she doesn't die all that much. But she can, so be careful. And hidden along the game's paths, you can find ways to upgrade your health. Usually these are out of the way, but I found most of them. But it's kind of cool, it looks like a trippy blue world or something like that. But actually they're all connected. You cross this bridge and you get this blue fountain. Or I think it's a blue, or some fountain of some sort. And you drink the water and your health gets longer. So by the end of the game, you have a really long life bar. And trust me, you'll need it. Because the challenges can get pretty tough later on. And anyway, and finally, also, when I first picked up this game up back in 2003, I think, or whenever the game came out, I heard good things about it, but my, let me think here. My understanding of the Prince of Persia series was I was pretty unfamiliar with it. I had seen reviews of the old 2D platformers, and I had seen other. I'd seen what it looks like, but this was my first actual Prince of Persia game that I actually played. And I really enjoyed it. The platforming is spot on. The combat could have been better, but that takes a backseat to the very good platforming challenges you face. And also this game on the GameCube version, you can, at least the GameCube version, you can unlock the classic Prince of Persia game. And I think on the Xbox version you can unlock, I think, Prince of Persia 2 or something like that. But I'm a really, with this day and age of first-person shooters becoming the dominant genre, I've seen a lot of first-person shooters on the Xbox and the PlayStation. Although thankfully not as much the Wii, and that's, to me, I think that's good. But me, I'm a big platformer guy, and I love platformers, whether they be 3D or 2D or whatever. But I really like this game, and I really think if you have a time, and I think as well, this game can also be, if you don't get it on the trilogy on the PlayStation 3, or if you don't get it on the other older consoles like the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox, I think you can download it on the PlayStation Network as well, I think. I'm not too sure, just do a search and you'll get to it. But all in all, if you like platformers, and if you like a good challenge, please pick this game up if you can, any way you can, if it's downloadable, or if you buy it, use, or whatever. So please pick it up. I highly endorse it. And as usual, before we go, if you live in or around South St. Paul or the Twin Cities metro area, be sure to visit my good friends at Level Up Games. Here's, as usual, here's their address and website for you to look at. Okay, and as usual, if you're watching this on YouTube, please rate and subscribe to my channel. And I have two websites. They're both the same main thing, but I have one for my live action, for example, these power-ups, and I also have a stop motion site that I really should update. I'm working on it. And those two sites are skakinbacon.com/skakinbaconmedia, and that's my live action, like the show and stuff, that stuff. And my stop motion one is skakinbacon.com/SBA. And I think they're still down there, I think. Yep. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of Power Up.